I'm going to give you a persuasion framework for you to use today. A persuasion framework that's immensely powerful. It'll help you with sales, it'll help you with marketing, it'll help you understand human behavior, even help you with personal relationships and things like this. Now, if you look at any highly successful person in the world, you will see that they are almost always a master of persuasion, because persuasion is a superpower, and persuasion can get you exactly what you want, or persuade people into an idea, or persuade people to take some sort of action. Over the last few months on this channel, we've broke down various different, ultra persuasive figures, public figures, the likes of Andrew Tate, who persuades by going on a unfiltered 2-hour-long podcast where he freestyles, says lots of controversial things, but people don't actually realize that what he's doing the entire time is persuading people on an idea. And that is exactly why he has a queue of people outside the door. On the flip side of that, we've got people like Iman Gadzhi, who write these, don't freestyle at all, they write these incredibly compelling, high production videos. And in these high production videos, he creates this sort of idea, this vision, his brand, right, which again gets this queue of people standing outside the door, ready to buy what he's selling. We just looked at Donald Trump, and that was one of the last breakdown videos. And you can see that Donald Trump, throughout his entire life, has had this amazing understanding of human psychology, amazing understanding of being persuasive. And he has spent, his entire life trying to generate attention. And then what he does is he takes advantage of that attention. He understands what's going on in people's minds, and he will sell them on an idea, and he'll sell them on himself as well. And it's obviously successful, right? Because he's just become the 47th president of the world, right? So persuasion is an absolute superpower. It truly, truly is. And even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, you still have to go through life and persuade people to, take your ideas, to persuade an employer to hire you for a better job, right? You have to persuade your, friends to come to your birthday party or whatnot, if they're not very good friends. You get the idea, right? So this persuasion framework that I'm going to show you right now, is a simpler version of a framework that I use for consulting for various different companies. And in that persuasion framework, a little bit more complex. I've added around about 100 million to various different companies using persuasion, right? So it's very, very effective, very, very, potent, right? So let's break into it. This is some of the main principles from it. This persuasion framework is called CASH. And we call it CASH because you guys have followed the channel a while. People work by associations, and CASH is something very easy for you to remember at home. You see, I'm always thinking of you guys, right? So in CASH, the persuasion framework will help you with your sales, with your marketing, which will make money. Okay, so CASH stands for capture, align, show, help. Let's start with the C, capture their attention. Now, any type of persuasion that's taken place in any study, that's taken place in any type of sales, any type of marketing, it always, without a doubt, starts with capturing the person's attention. If you don't have somebody's attention, you don't have the ability to persuade them at all, because they need to be focused on what you're saying. This sounds common sense, but common sense isn't common practice. And a lot of people try to go to all the other steps, scarcity, I'm gonna put a countdown timer in, but they don't even have anybody's attention, right? And there's a few different ways to get people's attention. I've listed out just a few easy ones here. And it's not all about videos, guys, right? You can use a direct way, a direct approach, go into somebody's DMs, right, to get their attention, to get them talking with you, to say something direct to them, right? If you stop somebody on the street, you are being direct. It is direct attention. But that's an easy example. There are a bunch of other ways that people get attention. We've got controversial here. Andrew Tate, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, all get attention using controversial tactics. It is their main weapon when it comes to getting attention, right? They like to say controversial things because they know it polarizes an audience. One part of the audience will hate them, one part of the audience will like them. Both groups of people will start paying attention to them, okay? Curiosity gaps. Curiosity gaps is where you create curiosity in a bunch of people and suddenly you have their undivided attention. So here's an example here. What if I told you you're wasting 40% of your time every single day? You'd be like, what do you mean, Rob? What if I told you I knew how to solve your procrastination issues right now? So I'm delivering this format to you right now in video. So it's easy for you to understand, but I could also deliver this to you in, text. You could be reading this. You could be, which is great for email marketing campaigns. You could also be listening to it as well, podcast, right? Anything which can grab your attention. Now, this last point, novelty. Novelty is perhaps one of the most powerful ways to get attention, but there's a caveat here. And the caveat is that in 2024, this first step of persuading, capturing people's attention, it is almost maxed out. People know this already, right? So your competition is huge. So you have to take this into consideration. People are now, even basic people who aren't involved in marketing at all, who aren't selling things in, business and things, they have got over time increasingly better at generating attention. And the reason why is because us humans, we're social animals, we learn from watching others. So we see Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, right? And each time our hooks get slightly better. And our resilience, the ability for us to avoid the hooks and not be, taken in by them, also gets higher as well, the tolerance, right? So if you think back to 2014, one of the best adverts struck the internet, and it was Tai Lopez's Here in My Garage. And in this Here in My Garage, everyone basically watched this video. They were like, oh, Tai Lopez, he's the knowledge guy, he's the Lambo guy. And they watched all of his video. And when they watched all of his video, they would then, pay attention to him. He captured their attention with this, crazy Lamborghini. But people have learned that that's worked. Each time an advert is effective, you get lots of people who copy it. So, in 2022, 8 years later, we've got Andrew Tate, who now can't get people's attention with a Lamborghini. Instead, he has to get people's attention with a Bugatti, right? So this comes on to this last point here, novelty. And the thing is about novelty is each time you do something novel, things just have to be slightly more novel than your competitors. So capturing their attention is the very first step to persuasion, but right now it's a high barrier to entry. However, controversial, direct, curiosity gaps, novelty things, there are ways to do these which intrigue people, right? Getting people's curiosity up. You can really drive people's curiosity, getting people's by doing controversial things if you're not in a place where you're going to suffer for that, right? So not everyone can do Donald Trump's or Andrew Tate's tactics when it comes to being controversial, right? Because there's a punishment for that. You might get sacked from your job, right? You might not be able to say the things you want to say because you could lose friends. So I would say each of these has its own advantages and each of these has its own disadvantages, but your first step to persuading anybody is to capture their attention. Doesn't matter how you do it, is the first necessary step. So the next part, align with them. What does this mean? People need to be understood. They need to feel understood. They need to feel heard. They need to feel you're interested in them. And they need to feel on some sort of level that you relate to them. And how do you do this in sales and marketing? Well, you understand their pain points, where they're currently at, who they currently are, and where they're trying to get to. If you look at the likes of Andrew Tate, he does this very well. He talks about the pain of his audience. There has never been, at least what I can see in the recent years, Jordan Peterson's done it a little bit. He's kind of spoke to the hearts of men, Jordan Peterson did, and spoke to kind of men's troubles, but he did it in a slightly more filtered way. And then Andrew Tate came along and basically put that on steroids, and he spoke to the hearts of men. Men were struggling with dating. They're being swept away with inflation, right? Things are too heavy. It's different for the older generation to say, just work hard and you can buy a house. For the younger generation, that takes a different lot of hard work and planning to get that goal now. And Andrew Tate basically took this message which truly resonated with men. He aligned with them and he says it's incredibly tough. And it's because the matrix is trying to keep you weak. The establishment is keeping you weak. And if you think about it, right, what he's saying, because there are rules and regulations and inflation has risen up over the years, you can kind of blame that on the government, and it is kind of true, right? And then he's talking about how social media keeps you, and he's got this like crazy message which resonates with many, empathizes with their pain. And through that pain, he positions the solution. He understands where men want to go. And the reason why is because he is a guy as well. And he has been a guy. So I'm giving the Andrew Tate example because it's very clear in what he's doing. It's murkier in other places, but basically it's still the same thing. If you understand the pain and align with the pain of whatever your audience is facing, the person you're speaking to, the person you're trying to sell to, and then understand, you'll no doubt know it'll be the opposite of that pain, where they want to get to, what their goal is, what their hopes are. And you can convey this through certain things. We see Iman Gadzhi talk about, I was in your exact position 5 years ago, wondering if I'd ever get ahead. And I've got a quote from one of his videos there. And so he does this, and he appears very relatable, and he aligns with his audience, right? So captured their attention, you've then aligned with them, you understood where they want to go, and you've related with them, you understand the pain points and the goals as well. So the next area, show your credibility. You've got to use tactics to prove your credibility once a person understands. And there's a good reason for this, and there's a good reason why this has made it into a persuasion framework. If you look at any type of study which is monitored compliance or obedience, you will see that there's use of an authority figure in there, and for good reason. So what does this mean? It means that we, in our DNA, in our genes, right, in evolution, we have been evolutionarily wired to look up to authority figures, to obey what they say. And because back in the tribal days, if we didn't obey our head of our tribe, we could either be cast out, we could be executed by them, or we could be hunted by animals that are out there. It's not within our best interests to not obey the tribe leader. But even without evolution, it's socialized into us as well, because we grow up in environments now where you can't do what you want, right? You have to listen to your parents, you have to listen to your teachers, you have to listen to your employer in your job. These authority figures are all around us. We are conditioned to listen to authority figures. So what does that mean? It means that wherever possible, you should show people that you are an authority figure if you're trying to persuade people. I was speaking to, he's actually a client of mine. He's a big influencer himself. And he said to me one day, as I'm creating all these persuasion breakdowns, he was like, why don't you ever mention like what you do? And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, why don't you ever mention that, like some of your credentials, that you've added, millions and millions to various different companies in terms of revenue? And I was like, I don't really want to. And he was like, dude, you're literally teaching this stuff, but you're not doing it on your own YouTube channel. And I was like, good point. And I just didn't do it. And so since then, I like drop it into videos as well. Like, oh, this is the type of companies I've worked for. This is how much revenue I've added on, because it gives me credibility. But it's weird. It took him to tell me to do that before I did that. So sometimes you have to force yourself, right? And you have to identify where you could do it as well. Social proof. Now, social proof is the next one here. And in social proof, humans have a tendency to act like other humans, to be part of the norm, to follow the group, right? So if you have some sort of ability or way to justify that what you're trying to say is the common solution for most groups of people, or it could be your friends or whatnot. If you're selling like a weight loss program, right, you could say you can be in shape like all of your friends. If you can position your service or whatever you're selling in a way which shows that it's part of the norm to do that service, or norm to get that result, right? That is a very powerful way. It doesn't have to just be testimonials or reviews and things like that. It can be you positioning it as if it's the social norm to do something. Okay, so showing your credibility in two ways: using your authority, saying your authority to people, showing your authority, because people listen to authority figures. People also want to be part of the group as well, so social proof. So here's a good example. This method is unlike anything you've tried before. It's backed by science and proven to work. Backed by science, authority, right? Science, studies, etc. Okay, and then the final point as well, CASH is H, help them take action. Humans generally need some sort of kick to make them take action. I've told this story before, I think, but I was running Facebook ads for an automation tool that I had made previously. And with this automation tool, we tried everything to sell it. It was cheap, so it would have been hard to get a good ROI on like the Facebook ads. We tried everything to sell it. And I said to the guy who was running my Facebook ads, who's my friend, by the way, we were doing like a equity share where he would just get the money of like the profit, or, you know, percentage of the money of the profit. And I said to him, I was like, hey, we're going to run this for 7 more days. And, you know, if we can't do anything in 7 more days, we've got to shut these ads off because we're hemorrhaging money, right? And he said to me, you know, that's absolutely fine, that's great. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a timer on my webpage. And on this timer, it's going to count down to the 7 days so people know when it's going to end. And it says, and maybe it'll add a little bit of urgency to it as well. So in that final week that I put that 7-day countdown time, it's the only thing I adjusted on this landing page, which is already very persuasive. I sold more in those 7 days than I had done for the previous huge amount of time and made all my money back. And the reason why is from urgency. And I'm not unethical, so I did shut it off when it got to 0 at the end, but it showed that people need a kick to take action. And urgency, scarcity. I've also got identity here, which is another complex topic. If you can change somebody's identity and get them to commit to an identity which takes action, then you can get them to, you know, take action, right? You can get them to move. So urgency, scarcity, last one left, last few items left, not long left. Urgency and scarcity, huge drivers in action. So it's a very simple framework. And in this simple framework, if you capture someone's attention, align with what they say, if you then, you know, show them your credentials, right? Show them why you are the person you are, because you're an authority figure and people support what you say, and then get them to take action. It's a very simple framework that will completely change your business. It will completely transform how you can do sales, how you can do marketing as well. I know it will. Now, I do more of a complex version with some of my clients and like my inner circle, but this right here is simplistic and it's very useful as well. So save this video, watch it through again. If you have questions, put them in the comment section. Remember, capture, align, show them who you are, and help them take action as well. People need to be helped to take action. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel as well. This is persuasion. Remember how powerful it is. Everyone who's successful uses persuasion. They're ultra super persuasive. It's not manipulative either. It's just a tool. It depends how you use it, and you should always use it ethically as well. All right, guys, take it easy. See you in the next video.